and you can begin.
All right, make sure the eyebrows look good. The wife said, home and back, home and back. Okay, here we go. Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to be presenting at my very first QM Research Conference. And today we are going to talk about something that we're doing at the University of Akron and a little presentation we call Quality and Promise. So let me get started here. This presentation is really about the best of intentions and sometimes how you fall flat on your face. And I've done this numerous times in my career. And I like to use those as examples of how you can bounce back in the instances where I've actually bounced back. I've for years tried to get QM rolling on our campus. Maybe you've had the same situation at your campus where you've been waving that flag for a really long time. COVID helped make the case because suddenly everybody was interested, but it, for the most part, has felt like you've been rowing upstream, right? And for whatever reason, it might be that you had administrators. I hear this all the time. Administrators, I had a bad experience with QM, or we mandated it to faculty and it wasn't popular. And so in the past, they just have this bad experience and don't want to move forward or help advance the notion of using quality assurance at scale across a campus. Or it's the perception that QM is just too hard, it's too time consuming. It's always been an excuse to not want to implement a system-wide approach to quality assurance. So we've run into these things. It's the same arguments time and time again. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what can we do at Akron? And since we just had the Super Bowl, I felt this picture was appropriate. Here I am, I've got the ball, I'm just about to score a touchdown, and this is what happens to me in the faculty meeting. I'm that guy, I'm the guy getting tackled here. There is that question out of left field that, is talking about academic freedom, or you have the person in the room who loves to say, I'm the devil's advocate here. Like, how am I supposed to combat that? That's really hard to do. So don't get me wrong, I don't mind going up against questions from the devil's advocate, but faculty have every right to be concerned about how QM fits into the broader architecture of how our processes and exist in course creation. However, we as an online learning team kept hearing the same challenges semester over semester. We train faculty, we have a few meetings with those who are engaged, we send them off where they either persist with a great course design because they worked with our team, or they backslide because it's more comfortable or easier. It's like it's really hard to break these bad habits. And so we see a couple things born out of this. First, we hear it from administration. We have to get online classes on as quickly as possible. But in the same breath, they'll say, but don't have too many online courses because we want to make sure our classrooms, quote, look full. Have you heard this at your campus before? It can be kind of a mixed message, right? So this feels a bit contradictory. And as soon as I hear about this, I think of the old adage of you can have it good, cheap, or fast, pick two, right? It's like, do you want us to build this or do you want quality up front? And the second thing is we have to combat the idea that quality assurance as a concept is too time consuming or cumbersome. And this is where I remind people, if we build quality courses at the onset, our programs will start to market themselves, right? Who do we typically market online classes to? First semester freshmen. Take those gen ed classes. And if they have a bad experience, do you think they'll be back for more? And I tell this to faculty at every department meeting I go to. And it's like, I never really considered that. Well, yeah, that's how we roll with it. So we'll have opportunities to have a full campus and excellent online offerings. And our students are, of course, begging for flexibility because now they know it's possible. Post-COVID, they know you can record a lecture. They know you can put an online syllabi. They know you can do an online quiz. So after numerous semesters, numerous workshops, we had an idea. We're going to build on what we do really well. And this is how we explain developing online courses to our faculty now. We say it's like building a house, right? We teach the tech of online learning. We address measurable learning objectives at the foundation. We require alignment documents, strategize on learner engagement, discuss pedagogical strategy, all wrapped under the roof of continuous improvement, right? I can teach someone how to be technical all day long. And so we've done this over and over and over again. Hundreds of faculty members have come through our workshop. Now we do it all virtually. And what's interesting, though, is as soon as I start bringing up quality matters, we get a lot of furrowed eyebrows of like, wait a minute, someone's going to be looking at my work outside of the walls of Akron or outside of my department. So we have to get creative about what can we do to incentivize working with instructional designers to willingly go through a QA process and not just any quality assurance process, something super rigorous as quality matters. So we needed a way to be able to onboard and on-ramp faculty to this. So I like to refer to this as sneaking in the QM vegetables. And I could not find a good image online of sneaking in vegetables with kids. So I asked ChatGPT, and I wanted to share you with the results because they're awesome. This was the first thing. My prompt was, I need an image of an adult parent hiding vegetables from adult kids. And this is the creepy thing it came up with. It was like a 1950s like kind of thing. Like, I see vegetables in the lasagna there, and then the kids got younger. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, that prompt isn't going to work. This image looks a bit antiquated. Can you make something similar, but with like modern day adults? And then now they're like blending up stuff. There's like a demon kid over here, and I'm pretty sure that's a baby in a microwave in the background. I don't know what's going on. And that girl is exactly how I feel sometimes. It's just like, oh boy, right? But that's really what we're doing. We are sneaking in the QM vegetables, right? And so after many semesters of talking about this and kind of strategizing about this, we created something called the UAkron Online Promise. And this is our framework that we use to increase faculty buy-in for quality assurance and really hammer on the notion that it's a student success initiative first, not a QA process, right? It's about student success. And that usually gets some of those eyebrows unfurled a bit. So the first thing we did is we really needed feedback, right? You need to baseline when you're doing these things. So we started collecting data, right? The theme of the research conference. So we hired Noel Levitz, or Ruffalo Noel Levitz, I think they're called an RNL, and we ran the PSOL. It's the Priority Survey for Online Learners. And we had ran a query and found 5,000 students on our campus that have taken online classes, and we wanted to know, what did they say? What do they really think about online learning? So we got some good, positive, qualitative data here. I love the online courses. It's been great to work and go to school without having to quit one or the other. I had a great experience with online courses. It was very clear in their instruction. Online classes made furthering my education possible. It gives me flexibility. But certainly for every positive comment that we had, we also had some things that we have to work on, right? I think the most important factor about having online classes that needs to change is the technological knowledge of the professor. Okay, so that's on us. We need to work on the technical proficiency. Additionally, I think this also goes for any teacher because they're all using Brightspace and require us to understand their random organization. Again, that's in my camp because that's all design. Or they can't respond to emails in time. And we hear that over and over again. That's the delivery side. So quicker feedback, need to make programs more accessible for students with full-time jobs. It's a shame that classes needed for a degree are not offered every year or multiple semesters. So we know how to fix these problems. And it wasn't surprising for us to hear a lot of these comments, but was surprising for a lot of our faculty members because we made this kind of widely shared. And we wanted to pick out highlights to kind of strengthen the case of why we needed to do something different from what we had been doing. So for the most part, we've been solid with course design. However, many of the comments related to the delivery of the course. And that's a fine line that we walk when we talk about QM, right? Especially if you're in that faculty meeting, that's kind of the talking point that I use of like, I'm not critiquing your teaching ability. I'm solely focused on making sure you have a consistent course design. And that makes sense, right? We've been saying that for years, but we've always known, especially if you're a facilitator, that there is a real fine line that you walk down that balance beam, right? Because you want to talk about delivery desperately, but we have to clearly delineate. So we're asking these questions. One of the questions was, if we focus on improving one area in the online experience, what would it be? And, communication was the top thing that came up, which was expected, right? The delivery side of the house. Preparation is technical ability. And then the third highest thing was engagement. Okay, and one of the stand-up comments was, please, all online professors should be willing and mandated to meet with his or her students at their request. Okay, well, maybe we can figure out a way to incorporate that into whatever it is we create. So we're always asking the question, how do we create a process that captures student data, makes it actionable for faculty, but while addressing every aspect of the online quality pie? And the problem that we have typically is we wait until the end of the semester where it's too late to do anything about it. I lose that entire cohort of students. And then who knows if the comments are going to be good or not, right? It's very substantive sometimes. I really like the class. Well, that doesn't tell me how to be a better instructor, thanks. Or the assignments were hard, or there was way too much reading. Well, that doesn't really help, right? So we wanted to really get laser focused with how to make actionable comments into something that turns into tangible results. So we took this data, and we created something called the UAkron Online Promise. We branded it. We put it right on the homepage of Brightspace. When you go to uakron.edu/online, we talk about the UAkron Online Promise, and we promote this heavily with our faculty members now. And essentially what it is we took all the survey data and we broke it up into 6 categories. So it's a demonstration of 6 reciprocal guarantees between the online learner and the faculty member. So faculty are accountable for something and the students are accountable for something. And then we tell faculty that if you exemplify the UAkron Online Promise, you can proudly display a certification mark from our unit on the homepage of your course in recognition to the dedication that they have to student success. And when they click on that, it's kind of like QM where you click on the certification badge and it takes you back to the certification page of what happened. But we really wanted to explain to students why this matters. Like, why did that extra effort matter? And why would you possibly consider a class that is following the UAkron Online Promise versus one that's not? Or why would I choose a QM certified course versus one that's not? Is there a difference? So this is what it looks like. We say a successful online experience requires that both the student and instructor both have a stake in the game. They both fulfill specific expectations. The University of Akron online students and faculty are. So we say the promise is prepared for online learning. They're consistently communicating. They're actively engaged, accountable, inclusive, and committed to success. So we kind of make it like a teeter-totter. On the left-hand side, students are expected to, hey, be ready and able to learn online with a computer. That's getting to the technical side. It's not an excuse that I can only do this on my cell phone. We have the ability to get you a laptop or a Chromebook or whatever from our library. You have to have the time in your schedule to be a successful online student. So we communicate that up front. We want to make sure that you communicate with faculty members in a collegial manner. That's hiding in the netiquette policy that we have. Be an active participant in individual and group activities. So that's getting to peer evaluation, group activities, and being active in the course, not just signing in and not participating. Acting with integrity talks about our academic integrity policies, certainly with assessments, but in the age of AI, have to hammer that again. Don't just copy paste. You need to cite your sources. We want to have inclusive classes that value diverse perspectives, right? And that we have a lot of that information that's coming from the registrar embedded into the, or not the registrar, I'm sorry, the provost office, the Office of Academic Affairs on our campus, that talks a lot about like our Title IX policies, accessibility policies, diversity, equity, inclusion policies. That's our way of addressing that. And then seeking out university resources to resolve any academic or technical challenges that you have. We're trying to reiterate with our students that if you have a problem, you got to ask for help because we are there to help you. We've spent all this time, especially after COVID, making sure everyone's available online. You can call anybody on campus literally through Microsoft Teams. We're not gatekeeping anything here. And so faculty members promise to step up their game too. They're prepared to teach an online course. That's their technical training. They reply to student inquiries within a couple of business days. That's getting to communication, facilitate a variety of learning opportunities. You may be seeing some of the QM language in there, varied types of assessment, provide a clear description of assignments, due dates, and grading criteria before the class is even started. We make sure to communicate that to the faculty up front, teach an inclusive and accessible course that affirms the diversity of individuals and each student to reach their fullest potential, and provide active and timely feedback for assignments within a reasonable amount of time. Whatever that is for each individual faculty member, right? That changes from course to course. So what we're doing behind the scenes is we took those 6 areas, okay, that we're focusing on, and they are directly mapped to the general standards that we have in the QM rubric, right? Sneaking in the QM vegetables. And then we also gamified it. So we created different levels of mastery. So that way there's an easy on-ramp. It doesn't seem so intimidating when I break it up into multiple levels. And we tell them you can take a couple of years to knock this out if you want. And the faculty members have been a little bit more approachable based on that. They're like, oh, that looks really nice. You're not asking me to do a QM review day 1, right? That would be information overload. And so if we think about this, we've got our standards, we've got our course meetings that we do with our faculty members. We have the 3 levels of the promise that all align back to quality matters. And if you think about this, maybe as like a hierarchy, QM is kind of the top of the mountain, right? That's what I want our faculty members to go for. And they kind of go, from setting measurable objectives, following those standards, up to our individual meetings where we focus on different areas of the rubric, but without telling them that we're focusing on the rubric. And that gets them through the levels. And again, at the end of the day or the end of the semester, we can put the course up for review. And now I've been talking a mile a minute. I'm sorry to the captioner, but let me pause here for just 1 minute and see if there are any questions. Let me zip through the chat real fast. The last comment was Chuck saying amazing. I don't know what it was in reference to, but thank you, Chuck. Good. Yes, Kim, I see your hand is raised. Go for it.
So I love the thought of sneaking in vegetables. And I think this is amazing. The way that you have designed it like one of the things that I have done is I have said, if you're interested in putting a course through the QM review, we want you to go through the APP QMR course first. So that way the faculty member has a clear-cut understanding of QM. It looks like the way that you have designed it, you've snuck all of that in, and so they've learned it all and are immersed in it without going through that. Can you describe, do you think that really prepares them? Would there be benefit in doing that over the APP QMR? What are your thoughts on that?
Great question, Kim. Thank you. So I don't get too far into like the actual technical training that we do as a part of this presentation, but I can email you another presentation that I have that talks about how we do our faculty workshop specifically. It's typically a 1-month course where you meet twice a week. And APP QMR is one of the days towards the end of the workshop. So they'll be familiar with the standards, but not until they learn a little bit more of the pedagogical side, and we're able to kind of explain. So we use APP QMR as like the reveal behind the curtain. Like, guess what? You just sat through 3 weeks of instruction with our instructional design team where you're learning how to use the LMS because you're brand new to the university or you're brand new to online learning. And then the aha moment that we're aiming for is the faculty member says, wait a minute, if I use your template and I follow your advice, based on this, I'm like, what, like 60, 70% of the way through the rubric? I'm like, yeah, you are. What we really need to spend our time on now is alignment and making sure that your class is accessible. And those are the two hardest things for faculty members to wrap their minds around. So that really does help. And I see your comments in the chat. So yes, I can certainly send you some additional resources or upload them to the conference site here at the end. And I made the screen a little bit bigger so that way you can see the details a little bit more. Great question. Hopefully I answered that for you. All right. So, and one thing that we do, I forgot to do the slide build. So we asked the faculty members, what would motivate you to actually want to do any sort of quality assurance whatsoever? And these were the things that came up. So we aligned the faculty motivations to the different levels of the promise as well. So we said, improve student success. Okay, well, that directly ties to standards. Whether or not maybe they receive a distinguished or a master online instructor title, that can relate, after you go through the process. Maybe if I paid them one-time funds, maybe if the department just said, hey, thank you, or if the provost said thank you, that's free, right? Promotion tenure consideration, that's been coming up with QM for years. And we're slowly, inch by inch, working on getting that through the different committees to recognize the amount of rigor that goes into serving on a review, or certainly having your course reviewed. And then, of course, a lot of them said, yeah, I wouldn't mind a nationally recognized certification. That looks great on my Vita. That looks great on my LinkedIn profile. And of course, QM provides that. So we wanted to make sure that there was enough incentive there that was obvious enough to the faculty member that they'd say, okay, this is kind of like a no-brainer, and this makes sense to me. And then a couple of faculty just said, I just want to be a better online instructor. And certainly that is something we want to promote as well, like be your best. So here are the levels, right? The UAkron Online Promise, the very first level is called committed to quality. And essentially what we do is the very first time a faculty member meets with us, we say, hey, we have this thing. It's called the UAkron Online Promise. It's just 6 things, real simple, right? We don't talk about QM or anything. And what we do is we say, all right, you have to, mandatory set up 3 meetings with us during the semester. Once, after this initial meeting, we do a mid-semester evaluation where we take feedback from the students midstream and make adaptations to the course mid-go, because we don't want to lose that cohort of students. If there's something that students are getting stuck on, they either will email the faculty member or they'll just never say anything about it and they'll just, complain, or they'll rage quit at the end. They're like, oh, they ghosted the whole class. We've seen that too. It's like, why are you paying all this money for a class where your intention was to drop, but you never dropped, right? It's a waste of money, waste of resources. And then at the end of the semester, we meet with them and we get the end of the semester evaluation feedback, and we make more changes to the course. So we focus on different aspects, and just from the first meeting, committed to quality is on the homepage of their course. They know, the students know, and the faculty members know, hey, something's going on here, right? We're doing something. So they know that they're kind of on this continuum in this process. The second level, after we've said, okay, you made it through the semester, Let's move you on to the Institute for Teaching and Learning on campus. They handle the delivery side of the scale. So faculty that have done the 3 consultations achieve the committed quality badge, and then they move on to quality online course. This is coming from our ITL, and it's a peer review process. Their faculty members are trained more on the delivery side of the house. So they have a lot of the peer reviewers read the book, Effective Teaching in Trying Times, 6 Steps to a Better Course. And it's a review process that involves a couple of virtual meetings. It's really quick to get through. It's really just a couple of meetings on like a 1-page synopsis on what they could do better. And then we meet with them again and we implement any changes that ITL recommended. So we're engaging more of the academic side of the house. And making sure they feel like they have ownership in the process as well, because building a large constituent group is really important. We have to have a big tent for quality assurance. And then the last level, if the faculty member is really feeling ambitious, we say, let's go for high quality online course. And this is where you go for the QM review. Now, so this is what's been most exciting. I'm a system lead in the state of Ohio. I've been working on QM at multiple universities for years. I have never implemented any process for pushing out quality matters that has changed the perception of QM as quickly as this, and has gotten people interested in actually wanting to do it, like willingly saying, I would like to be on your queue of QM reviews. That had never happened to me in 10 years at Akron, ever. And I think I'm a friendly guy and I present rather well. So I was hoping that would just happen, but it didn't. But this seems to be the thing. So we also tell them, here's your stretch goal. Focus on one new thing that you have in your course. So for some of our faculty members, that one thing was, oh, you know what? We're going to do the UAkron Online Promise, and I want to try perusal for the first time. We don't pay for perusal at Akron. It's just a social annotation tool. The free version does everything that we need it to do. The paid version, I think, gets you an integration with like a bookstore. But you can even do the LTI stuff with the free version, which is really great. So our Sports and Society in Ancient Greece and Rome course used this for social annotation amongst peers. It allowed her students to get deeper immersion into primary sources and stronger engagement and collaboration, which were 3 areas that her students said they desperately wanted. A lot of our faculty members will use H5P. Again, there's a free version and a paid version. We just now have the paid version, which is much more affordable than a lot of tools that are out there. But this allows our faculty members to think about, I've already recorded my lectures. Let's go and add some interaction to that. So I can go through, have interactive videos. I can create opportunities for self-assessment, which directly lines back to the QM rubric. And it forced faculty to provide varied types of assessments in more digestible pieces, right? Gone are the days of the 50-minute lecture. I get part 1, part 2, part 3, little 18 to 20-minute chunks. That's what we're aiming for. And a bunch of our courses have used that: Sports and Society, Professional Nursing, US History. And then one that we really started capitalizing on was feedback fruits. If you're not familiar with feedback fruits, it's like a tool chest of like 16 different tools. We paid for 3 of the ones that were the most requested by faculty members. And this, pedagogically speaking, has been a game changer for us, because as a designer, we see faculty members who are tasked with modifying course designs from a full semester to a condensed like summer semester all the time, right? The dean, the department chair says, hey, do the same thing, but make it 8 weeks long or 5 weeks long. And generally there's no issue with this, but what you might suspect, and I'm sure that you've seen this maybe at your campus, is that content tends to get watered down in lieu of time. So the feedback tools that we use with feedback fruits helps to combat that issue by taking feedback and crowdsourcing it with the students. It's also a useful tool to increase the rigor of a course, because sometimes we'll put up a course for review and they'll say, this class isn't hitting at the level of objectives that you say you want to hit, right? These are a lot more easy type of questions or easy type of assessments or artifacts. So feedback fruits also helps us on that. So it allows the students to submit work that's evaluated amongst peers. You can pre-create the rubric that you want your students to use, and you can also weigh in. What I also really like about this is that there's AI coaching on the side. So if they're not giving good feedback, the AI will say, hey, you might want to add a little bit more. You said, great paper. Well, that's not really actionable. So the AI actually does a pretty good job of telling the students to write more, almost like we wanted all of our peer reviewers to write a little more or be a little bit more in depth with their feedback. So the coaching on the side is great. The group member tool is helping to combat this feeling of non-validation that sometimes students have when they're stuck on a team with someone who doesn't want to do anything, right? Group member evaluations is really great for that. Again, a rubric can be created for that as well. And there's even an AI automated feedback. It's kind of like a turnitin.com, but it's only that the student can see, and it gives them coaching on their paper, kind of like Grammarly, if you can kind of put that in your head. So it's been really great for us. And again, we're focused on just the three tools that have been helping us, along with the UAkron Online Promise, to make an overall better student experience. So what has this done? Well, this has led to 4 certified courses within the last year. And I want to kind of get in now into the data of, okay, we got through the QM review. Did it actually have an impact on student success and retention? So this was our UAkron Online Promise participation. It's important to note that prior to this, we had really good numbers for attending our technical workshops, and but we had very little follow through with regards to utilizing QMs. Even with the APP QMR being a part of our broader workshop, I would only get onesie, twosie faculty members that wanted to maybe be a peer reviewer or actually put their course up for review before we did the Online Promise. So what does the data show? Intro to public relations. What I wanted to show you here, the dark blue graph is showing you kind of what the enrollment is. And I pulled 10 semesters of data because I realized things might look a little wonky because of COVID. So I'm going all the way back to 2019. So maybe we can see a little bit more of normalized data. And then there's sometimes the COVID hit that happens. There's also the instance where some of these courses are required for the major, so there weren't a high level of drops anyway because they know they needed it. So there's a lot of little factors here, but I wanted to call out where in the process, in what semester did they achieve which level of the UAkron Online Promise, and then whether or not you saw the retention rate increase or decrease. What's nice about this is that we see a very gradual decrease in withdrawals. So we have a higher retention rate over time over the past 10 semesters, but it was modest for this course, partly because the faculty member is phenomenal. I've worked with Dr. Spiker for many years prior to this. And as Bethany will tell you, whenever you're doing research, it's hard to put a thumbtack on the one thing that made that particular course fantastic and what really made the difference. Was it because they met with the instructional designer, because they read a good article, because they went through the review? It could be anything that contributes to higher student success rates or retention rates. So it's hard to put a pin on it. So that's where I wanted to really kind of focus my time in pulling the data. For sports and society, this was kind of like a roller coaster, right? We were enrollment was kind of up and down. Summers are always lower than fall and spring semesters that we see. I liked her data because there is also a trend line that is trending down. So we have higher retention rates for her course that's QM certified, and she spaced it out exactly 1 year apart. So like fall of 21, she was committed to quality. She took a couple semesters to make tweaks. Then she went with ITL, did the quality online course badge, took a couple semesters to implement that feedback. And then fall of 23, boom, QM certified. And now we're hopefully riding the success story of that. And I'll share with you at the end the qualitative data that came back because it's fantastic. Professional nursing. This is a required course. Retention has been decreasing in our program over time, but the retention rate was relatively flatlined if you average it out. So yeah, nursing was kind of up and down, and they're restructuring their RN to BSN program. That's where this particular course resides. So yeah, this one was kind of the one that I saw where, oh wow, retention's really taking it, or not retention, but enrollment was taking a hit overall. And then this is U.S. history since 1877. This is typically a course that you would take if you're a history major or if you're looking for another humanities credit. So not a required course at the institution, but you can see that our enrollment has been going up, and our trend line again is pretty flat. From the perspective of this faculty member is also really, really good. He's one of our like senior, fully tenured for many years, full-time professor. And he always does a great job, but he was one that was going through and adding H5P and interactive lectures and really increasing the rigor of his course all the way through. And the QM process was really what convinced him that the course had to change at all. Because the course evaluations were pretty good because it really wasn't all that rigorous of a course up front. It was a lot of reading and a lot of just tell me what the answer was on the quiz. So now there's papers, primary source evaluation, opportunities for discussion, H5P interactive lectures, overall made a much better course. So we're really happy about that. But what I'm really excited about are the faculty comments. So from Dr. Goriani, she's the one that teaches the sports and society course. The UAkron Online Promise served as scaffolding. If I went right to the QM review, I would be discouraged because meeting the QM rubric feels like an unattainable goal, right? And sometimes it can. I very rarely ever give somebody the one pager even of the QM rubric because, wow, I have to meet all of these standards and there's point levels and it seems very technical, Steve. She also said, when we get in the classroom, we have the syllabus, we have some assignments, a final paper, and then we do what we've observed as students ourselves. And the QM rubric is far from this process. At first, it seems daunting, but the promise operationalizes course design into manageable stages. I love how she said that, operationalizes course design. It felt like a continuous process of improvement. And isn't that one of the main hallmarks of quality matters? Continuous improvement, right? It's cyclical. Dr. Spiker said, participating in the Online Promise provide helpful insight from colleagues who are equally committed to quality education. Going through the different levels of the review identified key concepts from course design and helped frame my course for the subsequent and successful achievement of a QM certification. So she was a little hesitant at first. The UAkron Online Promise made it much more digestible and went for the review. And she, I think, met standards first time through, super high score. So was really, really pleased for her success with that. Dr. Wilson, this is the U.S. history course. Doing the Online Promise first helped significantly by introducing the basic framework and expectations and design of a quality online course, and it made the QM process a little more familiar and a little less daunting. These are all good things that I'm hearing from the faculty. He went on to say, having the feedback from the review committee was very helpful. Good peer review on teaching is a valuable tool, and I'm glad to have had that. But on the negative side, the QM template is a little rigid and at times confusing as to what's expected by instructors. So perhaps QM can reconsider making the process more accessible to faculty by redesigning their template and website. The irony is that it's not exactly user-friendly. And we've been talking about this as an organization for many years, right? Like, okay, we got to make things more discoverable on the website. Got it. Yes, we agree with that. But we also have to make the process more attainable for faculty members, right? The full review, maybe there's ways to scale that. So that's good feedback. I always tell my faculty members, I don't want good feedback. I want honest feedback. And then Dr. Bonnet, she's in the RN to BSN program and has been the biggest flag waver for QM since ever. And it's always nursing faculty, I've noticed. Like there's always one nursing faculty, I'm seeing some nods on the camera, like, yes, nursing faculty, they get it. They know about standards, right? So it was all about quality education, ensuring students get the best possible learning experience. QM focuses on innovative teaching and inclusivity and helps to refine the online course design for student success. So together we use the Promise and QM in the review process to enhance our program for greater success. So Jim, being the marketing director guy, I mean, if you need any of these quotes, let me know and I'll send them to you and you can use them all over your social media and all the fun stuff.
I just made a note to also ask you to submit a Making a Difference for Students QM award when they open too.
I will definitely do that. Thank you. So I've seen, Dr. Goriani goes on to say, I've seen a definite improvement in retention and student success. In the last general ed assessment that we did, a random sample of students met the learning objectives at a high level, 73 to 83%, which was much higher than the previous assessment in 2019. So the one piece that was missing from me pulling the research was whether or not there were higher rates of student success. It was hard to quantify that because a lot of the key assessments have changed and were made more rigorous. So we weren't comparing apples to apples anymore. Again, as Bethany always says, yeah, it's really hard, right? It's like trying to nail Jello to the wall. It's really difficult to figure out what's the thing that made the class better. We're hoping that going through these multiple levels and the amount of support that's embedded in the process is what made the difference. So what does QM look like at Akron now? Well, we're up to 245 people who have done the APP QMR. We've got 48 recognized courses, and we've got 4 more in the pipeline right now that have gone through the UAkron Online Promise. We have 29 peer reviewers and 6 master reviewers on campus. So we're starting to kind of get that groundswell of interest amongst faculty. And I love the competition that this has kind of generated amongst some of the faculty members. They'll tell me kind of, on the side, hey, I've got a couple colleagues that want to know what's up with this QM thing because we promote the heck out of it. We put it on our website. It's of course on the QM National website, but we're also putting it in our email newsletter that goes out once a day. And a lot of the faculty members have gotten personal handwritten notes from the president of the university or the provost that says, "Hey, I saw your thing in Digest, the email digest that we get. Good job." And I got one as well, which was really great. I'm like, I usually only get the phone call from a higher up if something's broken, right? Being the support guy. So it was nice to even just get acknowledged from upper administration. Again, acknowledgement is free. So lessons learned. What did I learn from going through the UAkron Online Promise and developing this? Well, first, we need to do a better job of documenting the initial course across all these metrics that we're trying to collect now before we meet with the faculty member. There's a survey that they fill out where they have to do a self-evaluation on their own tech savviness. It asks them what would they like to learn, or what they haven't tried before. We have them identify that stretch goal for us. But really going into the course and maybe even doing a course backup to say, like, look, I want to have another piece of evidence, not only for research perspectives, but to prove to the faculty member, look how far you've come from day one before you even really started working with our group to where you are now, maybe sitting on the second or third level of the Akron Online Promise. We want to increase the rigor of the second stage of the UAkron Online Promise. After they go through an entire semester working with my team, to only have 1 or 2 meetings and like a 1-page summary from the second level feels a little bit disjointed, right? We want to, so I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I'm trying to get all of the staff that we have in our Center for Teaching and Learning to go through QM and APP QMR and become peer review certified, just so we can all speak the same lingo, right? When we hear peer reviewers, are we talking about Center for Teaching and Learning peer reviewing, or are we talking about QM peer reviewing? 2 different things. And then, of course, being able to track key assessments at the onset of the project so we can easily see the impact. So being really conscious about what are they using as their primary piece of evaluation, or the major takeaway or portfolio piece or capstone project for the end of the semester, and not messing with that too much if it's working for them, and really being able to compare across those individual assessments if they're seeing an uptick with regards to student success and achievement. So that in a nutshell is the UAkron Online Promise. This one struck me in the shower the other night, and I was like, I need to include that in the presentation. So what I really like about this is that we've been able to shift the faculty conversation about QM from if to when my course is certified, right? Just that one word change is a complete mental shift for our faculty members. And I'm so excited that they're willing to come on that journey with us. We consider it a privilege to even be asked. It's not a requirement to work with our online learning services team in Akron. It's really up to the individual faculty member. So for those that seek us out, we're really appreciative of their time. Certainly, we're a small but mighty team. There's 4 designers on our campus, and we work really hard to make sure that it's a great interaction every time they work with us. So we're finally putting some points on the board. Maybe I'll get Tay to give me a touchdown. Congratulations, Steve. I think she's really focused on Travis here, but that was really fun to watch the Super Bowl, right? So thank you. Let me pause here. I've got about 10 minutes. I wanted to make sure we got through all the slides, but I can go back to anything that you'd like me to explain a little further. Thank you. And don't be shy. Feel free to unmute if you have a question or you want me to bring up anything.
Thank you for sharing your experience. I think, we've all been in that spot where we've really the beginning of trying to get things started. I think one of the things that is helpful for me, well, the whole thing was helpful for me, but encouraging for me was to see that your timeline of, really starting with QM in 2008 and then not certifying classes till 2012, and then where you're at now. I think it's easy for so many of us to feel like we've been pushing this for forever and not making headway. So thank you for showing that once that ball gets rolling, it will keep moving.
It definitely will. And when I do a lot of coaching for different institutions in Ohio, especially if they're a new subscriber to QM, and I tell them, it doesn't have to be a home run every time, right? You just got to get on base. So you got to find a couple faculty champions that are willing to come with you on the QM thing. And that is very contagious. Once you get a couple success stories and the goodwill that's generated by all the marketing, certainly from QM, the broader organization, but from within the state of Ohio or from within their own institution, the accolades just keep coming, and that gets faculty members curious, right? They want to be in that spotlight. Cheryl, I see you have a couple questions in the chat. How many courses do we get through in a year? So with regards to QM, This is now ramping up. So our goal is to get 10 to 12 per year now. So we're, I've got 4 in the pipeline that I'm just about to actually send them their review worksheets. And that hopefully will be our next cohort of faculty that go through the last stage of the UAkron Online Promise. As far as the number of courses that we develop per year, it used to be very scattershot at Akron. We were kind of like, well, whoever wants to walk through the door can get help with developing their online courses. But that's a really difficult way to get online programs together because you're not focused on any one strategic area. So now we're focused more on program development. And I would say, you know, most programs are 12 to 16 courses, and we try and span that out over a year. And we can handle about 2 to 3 programs for a full academic year. So maybe that's like 35 to 50 courses, depending on whether or not it's an undergraduate or graduate degree. And every designer, all of our designers are now senior designers. And so that it kind of level shifts a little bit. Maybe a junior designer at our campus would do maybe 4 to 6 courses in a semester. Our senior designers are able to handle about 10 to 12 throughout the whole semester. And then do you approach programs and departments or just hit faculty who reach out to you kind of like course by course? Yeah. So as I was just saying, it used to be just anyone walking through the door with a support ticket. Now we're going out to program directors where we subscribe to a lot of different market research databases and lead generation sources now, which we hadn't done in the past. So they're telling us, hey, this is what people know about our university, and here are what people are searching for and whether or not you offer it. So we're trying to be laser focused on meeting that demand. And then Alex is asking, the approach of scaffolding providing an on-ramp for faculty makes sense. You mentioned that you've been doing QM work for years. Can you pinpoint what changed your thinking to make you try this new approach? Oh, great question, Alex. I think what really changed my thinking was finally doing a really good baseline for quality assurance on our campus is probably what changed my thinking about it, because we were looking at the amount of hours that we're spending coaching faculty members through our different workshops that we offer, even going through APP QMR and doing all these things. And then we weren't shifting the narrative at all. Like, good for you, you got an online course, but that's kind of where it stopped. There wasn't like a promotion vehicle behind it to really spread the word, because this is work that most departments are just asking their faculty members to do anyway. Sometimes there's money involved, but most of the time there isn't. And money's the biggest motivator. And in lieu of that, the only other thing that I can offer them is recognition, either the letter, a promotion tenure certificate that they can put in their portfolio, and certainly all the praise and accolades that come along. One thing that was interesting that we're experimenting with at Akron is we just moved our campus to something called Workday. If you've been through a Workday transition, you know how much of how difficult it can be. Let's say that. You can know how challenging or difficult it can be. But in the fall, this will be the very first time that students can register through that. And there's ways to add different designations to courses. So we've got a case, and we have support from some of our faculty members on Faculty Senate to add designations to our courses that say this course has been QM certified, or has gone through the UAkron Online Promise, or is 100% OER. So we're trying to save students money, but also trying to show students there's a difference when it comes to quality. And I really want that to create competition. And I feel like that's gonna kind of help grease the wheels a little bit there. Kim saying, are your certified courses owned by the university for use by any instructor, or are they the IP of the faculty member? I believe our CBA, our collective bargaining agreement, is like a 50-50 kind of thing. So like the university owns it for so many years, and it is, for the most part, it's the faculty member's domain, unless they're being paid specifically to develop something like a one and done. Like, I need this workshop on Lean Six Sigma. I know you're a certified black belt. Okay, I'm going to pay you this one-time money, and then we can use it as long as we need to. That's the rare case. There are some faculty members, you're probably like me if you're a designer, where you've designed, Comp 101 50 times. I cannot tell you how many microeconomics, macroeconomics, intro to public speaking courses I've designed, right? So you feel like, okay, here we go again. Here's another instructor. Here's a different textbook, different priorities, but the same learning objectives. So we've been really hammering on using the master course model. Let's get a faculty member or a team of faculty members that will go through and serve as the course representative for that particular course. And then we use the multi-section policy that QM has to be able to make sure that we're maintaining alignment as we disseminate that master course that's QM certified to all of the adjunct faculty members under the full-timer. So it's kind of all over the place, but we're trying to get more to a master course model so we're not duplicating efforts. Great question. Making sure I got through all the questions. I think I got through most of them. Any other questions you'd like to ask? Well, seeing none, I want to thank you all for checking out my presentation. My email's on the screen. If you want me to send you some additional information, I can send you a copy of the presentation we have on maximizing learner engagement and certainly how we do professional development at Akron. And there might even be a video of that in the QM research library or in the QM success stories side under the QM classroom. There's a bunch of cool resources there that we've been sharing over the years. But thank all of you and good luck on your QM journey. I know you can do it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See you guys at the next session.
Thanks, everyone.